The dropship screamed through the atmosphere with half its thrusters dead. Lieutenant Connor Hayes gripped the overhead rail as the deck tilted 40 degrees, his knuckles white against the metal. Smoke poured from the starboard engine casing. The landing was going to be brutal. "Brace for impact!" Captain Lauren Mitchell shouted from the cockpit. The ship hit dirt and skidded sideways, tearing through alien vegetation. Connor's shoulders slammed into the bulkhead. Metal shrieked. The world spun. Then silence, broken only by the hiss of ruptured coolant lines. Connor pushed himself up, tasting copper. Blood ran from a gash above his eye. Around him, the 12-person recon team stirred. Private Danny Cruz groaned, clutching his ribs. Corporal Nina Valdez helped Sergeant Kyle Porter to his feet. "Status!" Mitchell emerged from the cockpit, limping. "We're down 5 clicks from the rally point," Valdez said, checking her tactical display. "Communications are dead, so is navigation." "Then we walk." Mitchell grabbed her rifle. "The Zenthari know we're here. Every second we stay is a second closer to—" The hull exploded inward. A figure tore through the metal like paper. 7 feet tall, covered in segmented armor that gleamed like polished obsidian. The alien's 4 arms moved with impossible speed, each hand gripping a curved blade. Eyes like molten gold fixed on the humans. Connor brought his rifle up. The alien's lower left arm flicked out. The rifle flew from his hands, torn away by a blade that never touched him. Before he could react, massive hands seized his throat and lifted him off the deck. He couldn't breathe. The alien's face was inches from his, mandibles clicking. Behind those golden eyes, he saw calculation. Assessment. Then voices, harsh and guttural from outside. More Zenthari warriors approaching. The alien holding Connor froze. Those golden eyes shifted, looking past him at Nina Valdez, who stood protectively in front of Cruz, her sidearm raised despite the futility. Something changed in the alien's expression. The grip on Connor's throat released. He dropped, gasping. The alien moved with blinding speed, positioning itself between the humans and the hull breach. Its 4 arms spread wide, blades ready, but facing outward, toward its own kind. A Zenthari warrior appeared in the opening. It barked something sharp and commanding. The alien in front of Connor responded, its voice steady, defiant. The exchange lasted 5 seconds. Then the warrior outside snarled and vanished. The alien turned back to the humans. It pointed one blade at the rear hatch, then at the jungle beyond. "Is it helping us?" Cruz whispered. The alien's mandibles clicked again, softer this time. It gestured more urgently. Mitchell made the call. "Move. Now." They ran into the alien night, following a warrior who should have killed them all. Connor's lungs burned as he crashed through the undergrowth. Behind him, the dropship exploded, lighting the jungle in orange and white. The shockwave knocked him forward. He rolled, came up running. The alien warrior moved through the forest like liquid shadow. Despite her size, she made no sound. Connor had started thinking of her as she. After the 3rd time, she doubled back to pull slower team members over fallen logs. The way she moved, the way she'd positioned herself between them and danger, felt distinctly feminine to him, though he had no rational basis for it. "Contact rear!" Porter shouted. Plasma bolts seared through the canopy. Trees exploded into splinters. Connor dove behind a massive root system. Nina landed beside him, her face streaked with dirt and sweat. The alien warrior stopped. She turned, assessing the incoming fire with those golden eyes. 4 Zenthari soldiers emerged from the smoke, weapons raised. She charged. Connor had seen combat footage of Zenthari warriors. He'd watched them tear through fortified positions, but he'd never seen one fight another. It wasn't a battle. It was art. Her 4 blades became a whirlwind of dark metal. She deflected plasma bolts with 2 weapons, while the other two struck with surgical precision. The first enemy warrior went down with a severed weapon arm. The second lost its legs. The third managed to block her initial strike, but couldn't counter the follow-up from a different blade at a completely different angle. The fourth warrior fired point blank. She twisted impossibly, the bolt missing by centimeters. Her lower right blade came up in an arc that ended the fight. Silence returned to the jungle. She stood among the fallen, breathing hard. Then she did something that made Connor's blood run cold. She knelt beside the warrior she'd crippled and placed one hand on its chest. Her mandibles moved, speaking soft words Connor couldn't understand. The wounded Xanthari's eyes flickered, then closed. She'd given it something. Mercy, maybe, or last rites. Jesus, Cruz whispered. She cares about them. Then why is she helping us? Nina asked. The alien stood and gestured sharply. They needed to move. For 2 hours they pushed through the jungle. Mitchell's limp worsened. Cruz's ribs made every breath agony. But the alien warrior set a pace they could maintain, constantly checking over her shoulder, adjusting speed when someone faltered. Finally, she stopped at a rocky outcropping. She touched a specific sequence of stones. A section of rock slid aside, revealing darkness. A cave? Porter said. We'll be trapped. The alien shook her head, a gesture she must have observed from them. She pointed inside, then made a sweeping motion across the jungle. Safe, Connor interpreted. Hidden, Mitchell decided. Inside, we need rest and time to treat wounds. The cave went deep. Bioluminescent fungi provided dim blue light. The air was cool and dry. At the back, a small underground stream burbled. The alien warrior waited until they'd all entered, then sealed the entrance behind them. She turned and began removing her armor plating. Underneath, her body was lean and powerful, covered in fine scales that shifted from deep purple to silver in the fungal light. She was undeniably female in form, though her anatomy was distinctly alien. She moved to the stream and began washing blood from her hands. All four of them. Nina approached slowly, medkit in hand. The alien watched her come, those golden eyes wary but not hostile. Nina pointed to a cut on the alien's shoulder, then to the medkit. The alien tilted her head, considering, then nodded. As Nina worked, Connor noticed something. The alien's armor, lying discarded on the stone floor, bore markings, not military insignia, something else, scratched into the metal with crude tools. He moved closer, using his tacklight. The marks resolved into symbols and numbers, human numbers. Captain, he called softly, you need to see this. Mitchell limped over. Her face went pale as she read the markings. They were coordinates, human coordinates. And beneath them, scratched in English letters, sanctuary. The alien warrior watched them discover her secret. Her mandibles clicked once, soft and uncertain. Then she spoke, her voice rough and struggling with the unfamiliar sounds. Help, more. Connor's heart hammered. She spoke English. She knew where human survivors were hidden. How many? Mitchell asked, speaking slowly. How many humans? The alien held up her 4 hands, fingers spread, then again. 60, maybe more. Why? Nina asked. Why help us? The alien's golden eyes dimmed slightly. She touched her chest, then pointed at each human in turn. She struggled for words, her mandibles working. Finally, she managed 3 words that changed everything. You show mercy. Outside, in the distance, Xanthari war cries echoed through the jungle. The hunt continued, but inside the cave, an impossible alliance had formed. The alien warrior's name was unpronounceable, a series of clicks and harmonics human vocal cords couldn't replicate. She tapped her chest and made the sound. When Connor tried to repeat it, she tilted her head. mandibles twitching in what might have been amusement. Kessa, Nina said suddenly. Can we call you Kessa? The alien considered this, then nodded once. Kessa moved to the cave wall and began drawing with a piece of charcoal from her pack. Her 4 hands worked simultaneously, creating a detailed map, mountain ranges, rivers, and a symbol Connor recognized from satellite intelligence briefings. That's the Centauri Command Fortress, Mitchell said. 30 kilometers north. Kessa's claw tapped the fortress, then dragged a line east. 5 kilometers from the fortress, she marked an X. She drew it 3 times, emphasizing. The human survivors, Porter said. They're near the enemy stronghold. Kessa nodded. She drew crude figures, humans huddled together. Then she drew Centauri warriors around them. But these warriors had different markings. Kessa pointed to herself, then to the drawn warriors. Guards, Nina breathed. Some of your people are protecting humans. Kessa's mandibles clicked rapidly. She pointed at the humans in the drawing, then made a gesture Connor had seen before, the same one she'd made over the dying warrior in the jungle, compassion. She began to draw faster, telling a story in images, humans and Centauri fighting. Then something changed. She drew smaller figures, children, caught in crossfire. She drew a Centauri warrior shielding a human child, taking plasma fire meant for it. She drew the warrior falling. Her hand trembled as she drew the next image. A Centauri commander executing the warrior who had shown mercy. That's why you hide them, Mitchell said quietly. Your people kill anyone who refuses to slaughter civilians. Kessa's eyes flashed with something fierce. She drew more images. A secret faction. Warriors who remembered honor, who refused to murder the helpless. They'd been gathering human survivors for months, hiding them in abandoned mining tunnels near the fortress, close to the enemy, where no one would think to look. How many of your people are in this faction? Connor asked. Kessa held up both left hands. 10. 10 Centauri warriors protecting 60 humans from an army of thousands. That's suicide, Porter said. Eventually they'll be discovered. Kessa nodded grimly. She drew an hourglass, then crossed it out. Time was running short. What changed? Nina asked. What made you question orders? Kessa's hand stilled. She stared at the cave wall for a long moment. Then she drew a new image, a small human, clearly a child, offering something to a Centauri warrior. Kessa drew the object carefully, a flower. She touched her chest. The warrior in the drawing was her. You couldn't kill a child who gave you a flower, Nina whispered. Kessa's mandibles trembled. She made a sound like breaking glass. Grief, Connor realized. Alien grief sounded like shattered crystal. She drew the child again, then crossed it out. Her claw scraped hard against stone. No, Cruz said. No, you didn't. Kessa shook her head violently. She pointed at other warriors, the ones without her markings. They had killed the child. She had tried to stop them. Failed. That was when she turned. Mitchell's tactical display suddenly chirped. Battery power. Coming back online. A weak signal appeared. I've got something, she said. Faint transmission. Human encryption. The message was broken. Fragmentary. Under attack. Tunnels compromised. Need immediate. Children first. The timestamp was 8 minutes old. Kessa heard the voice. Her entire body went rigid. She moved to the cave entrance, listening. In the distance, barely audible, came the sound of plasma fire. She turned back to the humans. Her golden eyes met Connor's. She didn't need words. The sanctuary had been found. We're 12 soldiers with small arms, Porter said, against a fortress. That's not a rescue. That's suicide. We have something they don't, Connor said, looking at Kessa. We have someone who knows every patrol route, every weak point, every guard rotation. Kessa's mandibles clicked agreement. She moved back to the map and began drawing rapidly. She sketched the fortress layout, marking guard positions, weapon emplacements, patrol timings. Her 4 hands worked furiously. Then she drew a route, narrow, dangerous, threading between overlapping fields of fire. It led to a small entrance on the eastern wall. "That's a maintenance tunnel," Mitchell said, recognizing the structure, barely big enough for one person. Kessa nodded. She held up one claw, then pointed at Connor. "She wants me to go alone?" Connor said. Kessa shook her head. She pointed at Connor, then at herself. 2 people. They would infiltrate while the rest of the team created a distraction. "Split our forces even more?" Porter protested. "Captain, this is insane." Mitchell studied the map. Her jaw clenched. "What are the objectives?" Kessa drew quickly. Connor and she would reach the tunnels, evacuate the humans. Meanwhile, the rest of the team would hit the fortress power grid. Brief blackout, just enough chaos for escape. "The power grid is here." Mitchell tapped the map. 11 of us against hardened defenses. Kessa drew another symbol. She pointed at herself, then made a gesture across her throat. Her credentials, her access codes. She gave them to Mitchell. "You're giving us your security clearance?" Nina asked. Kessa nodded. "With her codes, they could walk right up to the power station until someone noticed the codes belonged to a traitor." "How long do we have?" Mitchell asked. Kessa held up 3 claws. 3 hours until the next patrol discovered the cave. 3 hours to plan, move, and execute. 3 hours to save 60 lives or die trying. Connor checked his rifle. Half a magazine left. He looked at his team, battered and exhausted. Then he looked at Kessa, an alien warrior who'd chosen compassion over orders. "Let's go get your people," he said. "All of them." Kessa's eyes blazed gold. She placed one massive hand on Connor's shoulder. The gesture transcended species. They were in this together. The fortress perimeter was a killing field. Automated turrets swept the cleared ground in overlapping patterns. Sensor pylons hummed with active scanning. Connor counted 17 guard positions from their hiding spot in the tree line. Kessa's 4 hands moved in rapid signals. She'd been teaching them basic Zenthari military gestures during the approach. 2 fingers down meant guards. A circular motion meant patrol route. A slashing gesture meant danger. She slashed now, pointing at a sensor pylon. Mitchell's team moved left. The pylon's scanning beam shifted 30 degrees, creating a gap. Connor and Kessa ran. They covered 50 meters in seconds, sliding into a drainage ditch. Plasma fire erupted behind them. Mitchell's team had engaged, drawing attention exactly as planned. Kessa pulled Connor through the ditch. Sewage soaked his uniform. The maintenance tunnel entrance appeared, a grate barely visible under accumulated filth. Kessa's lower arms gripped the grate, muscle corded along her shoulders. The metal shrieked and tore free. They dropped into darkness. Connor activated his helmet light. The tunnel was tight, forcing Kessa to move sideways. Her armor scraped against concrete. They descended at a steep angle, going deeper beneath the fortress. Behind them, explosions rocked the complex. Mitchell was hitting the power grid. The tunnel opened into a junction chamber. Kessa paused, listening. Her mandibles clicked softly, processing sounds Connor couldn't hear. She pointed right. They moved through a maze of passages. Twice, Kessa stopped and waited while Zenthari patrols passed overhead. Once, she had to kill a guard silently, her blade finding the gap between armor plates with terrible precision. She lowered the body gently, that same grief sound escaping her throat. Finally, a blast door. Sealed. Kessa entered a code on the panel. Red light. Denied. She tried again. Red. "They changed the codes," Connor whispered. Kessa snarled. She examined the door, then the walls. Her eyes narrowed. She began tapping the concrete in a pattern, listening to the echoes. She found what she wanted, a weak point where old construction met new. Her four fists slammed into the wall simultaneously. Concrete cracked. She hit again. Again. Her knuckles bled purple, but the wall gave way. Beyond was a natural cavern, expanded and reinforced. Emergency lighting cast everything in red, and there, pressed against the far wall, were humans. 63 by Connor's count, men, women, children, wearing salvaged clothing, clutching improvised weapons. Their faces showed months of fear and deprivation. A woman stepped forward, gaunt but defiant. She held a piece of sharpened rebar. "Who are you?" "Lieutenant Connor Hayes, Earth Coalition Forces." He lowered his rifle. "We're getting you out." "The Zenthari found us an hour ago," the woman said. Her name tag read Brennan. "They killed 2 of the warriors protecting us. The rest are holding the main entrance, but they're losing." As if to punctuate her words, plasma fire echoed from deeper in the cavern. A Zenthari warrior stumbled into view, bleeding from multiple wounds. It saw Kessa and barked something urgent. Kessa responded, then turned to Connor. She pointed at the humans, then at the hole she'd made. Her meaning was clear. "I'm not leaving you," Connor said. Kessa's eyes flashed. She grabbed his shoulders, all 4 hands firm but not painful. She spoke in halting English. "You lead them out. I hold here. There are too many enemies. You'll die. I know." Her mandibles formed what might have been a smile. But children, live. Another explosion shook the cavern. Dust rained from the ceiling. Somewhere above, Mitchell's diversion was reaching its climax. Brennan grabbed Connor's arm. "There's another way out," the warriors told us. "Collapses into the river valley. We can make it if someone holds the Zenthari back." Connor looked at the children, 12 of them, the youngest maybe 5 years old. They watched him with hollow eyes that had seen too much. He looked at Kessa, this warrior who'd betrayed her entire species for a child with a flower. "Come with us," he said. "Please." Kessa shook her head. She touched his chest, right over his heart. Then she turned and ran toward the plasma fire, her 4 blades singing free of their sheaths. "Move!" Brennan shouted. "Now, while she's buying us time." Connor made the hardest decision of his life. He began organizing the evacuation. The humans moved through the hole in single file. Connor positioned himself at the rear, covering their retreat. Through the opening to the main cavern, he could see Kessa fighting. She was glorious and terrible. 3 Zenthari warriors attacked in coordination. She fought all 3 simultaneously, her 4 arms creating a defensive perimeter nothing could penetrate. When one enemy overextended, she punished it instantly, but more warriors came. 5, 8, 10. She gave ground slowly, her blood painting the stone floor purple. "Sir, we have to go," one of the survivors shouted. Connor fired his last magazine at the approaching warriors, giving Kessa seconds of breathing room. Then he ran. The escape tunnel was barely explored. The humans navigated by feel and courage. Children cried. Adults whispered prayers. Behind them, the sound of battle faded, then stopped. Connor's heart clenched. They emerged into starlight beside a roaring river. Mitchell's team was already there, battered but alive. They'd stolen a Zenthari transport, its engines idling. "Everyone on!" Mitchell shouted. Connor did a head count as people boarded. 6-3 survivors, 11 soldiers. Kessa wasn't coming. "Sir, we need to leave," Porter called from the pilot's seat. Connor stared at the cavern entrance. Nothing moved in the darkness. Then a figure emerged, staggering, covered in wounds. Kessa collapsed at the river's edge. Connor ran. He reached her as she fell, catching her weight. She was impossibly heavy, all dense muscle and armor. He shouldn't have been able to hold her, but adrenaline and desperation gave him strength. "I've got you," he gasped. "Nina, medical." They dragged Kessa to the transport. Nina immediately began working, her medical training adapting on the fly to alien physiology. The transport lifted off as Zenthari reinforcements arrived. Plasma bolts streaked past. Porter pushed the engines to maximum. They cleared the fortress, the mountains, the atmosphere. In the cargo bay, Kessa's breathing was labored. Her golden eyes found Connor's. "Children?" she asked. "Safe. All of them. Because of you." Her mandibles trembled. That shattered crystal sound of grief became something else. Relief, maybe? Or peace. "Thank you," she whispered. Then her eyes closed. The Coalition medical frigate Endeavour received their distress signal 40 minutes into their flight. By the time they docked, Nina had used every piece of equipment on the transport to keep Kessa alive. Dr. Elizabeth Grant met them at the airlock. Her eyes widened when she saw what they were carrying. "That's a Zenthari warrior," she said. "That's the reason 63 civilians are breathing," Connor shot back. "Save her." Grant hesitated only a moment. Then her training took over. Trauma Bay 3. "Move." They rushed Kessa through corridors filled with staring personnel. Humans pressed against walls, some reaching for weapons. Connor ignored them all. The surgical theater was chaos. Grant's team had never worked on Zenthari physiology. They improvised, adapting human procedures, guessing at anatomy. Connor watched through the observation window. Kessa's body was a road map of damage. Plasma burns, blade wounds. One of her forearms hung at an unnatural angle. "She's crashing!" someone shouted. Machines screamed alarms. Grant worked with desperate intensity, her hands moving faster than Connor thought possible. Kessa's vital signs, displayed on adapted monitors, flatlined. "No," Connor whispered. Grant grabbed a neural stimulator. She adjusted settings blindly, guessing. "Clear!" Kessa's body arced off the table. "Nothing." "Again!" Grant shouted. "Clear." The machine stayed silent. Grant looked at the clock. Protocol said to call it. She'd done everything possible. Then Brennan, the woman from the cavern, pushed into the observation room. She pressed her hand against the glass. "Don't you dare give up on her," she said quietly. "My daughter is alive because that warrior chose mercy over orders. You keep fighting." Grant heard her through the intercom. Something shifted in her expression. She grabbed the stimulator again. One more time. Maximum power. Clear. The jolt hit Kessa like a missile strike. The monitor beeped. Once. Twice. A rhythm established itself. "We have her back," Grant breathed. "Stabilize and prep for regeneration therapy. Move!" 3 hours later, Connor sat in the recovery ward. Kessa lay in a reinforced medical bed, her massive frame barely contained. Bandages covered most of her body. An IV drip fed her alien blood from reserves they'd synthesized in desperation. Her golden eyes opened. "Easy," Connor said. "You're safe. You're on a human ship." Kessa's mandibles clicked weakly. She tried to sit up. Pain crossed her features. "The children?" she asked. "Safe. Every single one. They're 3 decks down, eating real food for the first time in months." Kessa's eyes closed again. Relief made her sink deeper into the bed. The door opened. Admiral Vincent Kane entered, his uniform crisp despite the late hour. His face was unreadable. "Lieutenant Hayes, you've created quite a situation." Connor stood. "Sir, this warrior saved. I've read your report. I've interviewed the survivors. I know what she did." Kane looked at Kessa. "The question is, what happens now?" "She gets asylum," Connor said. "That's what happens. She's an enemy combatant. By law, she should be in a detention facility. By law, she should be dead in a ditch. executed by our own people for choosing compassion over slaughter. Connor's voice hardened. Sir, with respect, if we can't protect someone who risked everything to save our civilians, what the hell are we fighting for? Kane was quiet for a long moment. Then he pulled out a datapad. The 9 other Zenthari warriors in her faction are still at that fortress. According to intelligence intercepted 2 hours ago, they're scheduled for execution at dawn. Public display. Message to anyone else considering treason. Kessa's eyes snapped open. She tried to rise, her body screaming protest. No, Kane said firmly. You're not going anywhere. You can barely stand. My warriors, Kessa managed. My friends. They're dead already, Kane said, not cruelly, but factually. The fortress is on full alert. Even a strike team couldn't reach them in time. Connor looked at the clock. 6 hours until dawn on the planet below. What if they had inside help? He said slowly. Kane raised an eyebrow. Explain. Kessa's credentials got Mitchell's team into the fortress power grid once. The Zenthari might have locked them out by now, but they'd still flag in the system. If someone with those credentials started accessing random systems creating chaos, they'd have to investigate, Kane finished. Pull guards from execution detail. And if that same someone provided real-time intelligence on guard positions, weak points, extraction routes, Kessa was shaking her head, mandibles clicking frantically. No, too dangerous. You'd have to stay here, Connor said. Meeting her eyes, guide us remotely. Trust us to bring them home. The Council will never authorize this, Kane said. A rescue mission for enemy combatants based on intelligence from a defector into a hardened fortress we just attacked? Then don't ask the Council. Connor's voice was steel. Sir, you have autonomous operational authority in this sector. Use it. Kane studied Connor for a long moment. Then he looked at Kessa, this alien warrior who'd chosen conscience over species loyalty. Dr. Grant says you'll be conscious but immobilized for at least 18 hours, Kane said to Kessa. That gives you just enough time to walk Lieutenant Hayes and his team through every corridor, every guard post, every security protocol you know. Hope flared in Kessa's golden eyes. I'm authorizing Strike Team Omega for immediate deployment, Kane continued. Objective: retrieval of high-value intelligence assets. If those assets happen to be Zenthari defectors, well, intelligence is intelligence. He turned to Connor. You have 6 hours to plan and execute. The Endeavor will provide orbital support. Try not to start a war. Just finishing one, sir, Connor said. Kane almost smiled. Dismissed. As the Admiral left, Connor pulled a chair beside Kessa's bed. Nina entered with mapping equipment. Porter and Cruz followed, ready to take notes. Kessa's 4 hands trembled. Why risk this? Connor thought of a child offering a flower, of warriors choosing death over murder, of compassion surviving in the darkest places. Because you showed us what honor looks like, he said. Time to return the favor. Kessa's mandibles formed that alien smile. Then she began to talk, painting a picture of the fortress in perfect detail. They had 6 hours to save 9 warriors from execution. The clock was already ticking. The drop pod hit atmosphere at terminal velocity. Connor's stomach lurched as gravity grabbed them. 24 hours ago, he'd been fighting to survive. Now he was diving back into hell by choice. Strike Team Omega consisted of 15 soldiers, all volunteers, Mitchell commanded. Connor led Insertion Team Alpha. They had Kessa's voice in their ears, transmitted from the Endeavor, guiding every move. Landing zone in 30 seconds, she said, her English improving with each word. Guards patrol east perimeter every 4 minutes. You have gap of 90 seconds. The pod slammed into dirt outside the fortress sensor range. The door blew outward. Connor ran into pre-dawn darkness. They moved like ghosts through terrain Kessa described from memory. Every rock formation, every sensor blind spot. She knew this fortress better than the current commander. "Stop!" Kessa's voice commanded. "Patrol approaching from north. 3 warriors." Wait. Connor froze. His team melted into shadows. 3 Zenthari warriors passed within meters, their thermal scans sweeping empty air. The humans had coated their armor in reflective gel based on Kessa's specifications. Clear. Move to maintenance shaft 7. I am unlocking remotely. A panel in the fortress wall cycled open. Kessa was inside their systems, using backdoors only she knew existed. They dropped into the shaft. Nina sealed it behind them. The fortress interior was different from yesterday. Heightened alert meant triple patrols. But Kessa navigated them through service corridors no one guarded because no one remembered they existed. "The detention level is ahead," Kessa said. Her voice held tension. "My warriors are in cells 4 through 12. But Connor, you need to know, they will not want rescue." "What?" Connor whispered. "They chose this. Zenthari honor. They failed to protect the humans completely. They believe they deserve execution. That's insane." "That is our way." Kessa paused. "You must convince them. Tell them I order them to live as their commander." Connor understood. She wasn't asking. She was giving them permission to survive. The detention level was heavily guarded. 12 warriors at various posts. Mitchell's team created a diversion 2 levels up, a small explosion that pulled 8 guards away. That left 4. Connor's team moved simultaneously. Suppressors kept their weapons nearly silent. 4 shots. 4 guards down before they could raise alarms. Nina hacked the cell controls. Doors opened. The 9 Zenthari warriors emerged slowly. They were battered, some wounded, but still dangerous. They saw humans with weapons and tensed. "Kessa sent us," Connor said quickly. One warrior, massive even by Zenthari standards, stepped forward. "Its armor bore commander markings. Kessa is dead. We monitored her execution order. Kessa is alive on a human medical ship, and she's really annoyed that you all gave up." Connor tapped his comm. "Tell them." Kessa's voice filled the detention block, speaking rapid Zenthari. The warriors' eyes widened. Their commander's mandibles trembled. Kessa switched to English. "I did not save those children to watch my warriors throw away their lives. You will accept rescue. You will live. You will continue fighting for what is right. This is not a request." The commander looked at Connor. "You came back for us." "Kessa taught us something," Connor said. "Compassion isn't weakness. It's the only thing worth fighting for." Alarms shrieked through the fortress. "They found the bodies," Mitchell's voice crackled. "We're blown. Extraction now." Connor's team ran. The 9 Zenthari warriors followed, their wounds forgotten. They moved through corridors as Kessa called directions, but the fortress was mobilizing fast. A blast door dropped ahead, cutting off their route. "Alternate path blocked," Kessa said, frustration clear. "You are trapped." The Zenthari commander stepped forward. Its 3 remaining arms moved in complex gestures. The other warriors spread out, taking defensive positions. "What are they doing?" Porter asked. "Fighting," the commander said in broken English. "You run. We hold." "No," Connor said. "We all go, or none of us do." The commander's golden eyes studied him. Then it made a sound like laughing. "Humans. Stubborn. Learned from the best," Connor replied. Zenthari soldiers poured into the corridor. Plasma fire lit the space like a lightning storm. Connor's team returned fire. The 9 warriors fought beside them, their blades and strength creating a defensive wall. But there were too many enemies. "Kessa!" Connor shouted over the gunfire. We need a miracle. Silence for 3 seconds. Then Kessa's voice, calm and certain. Breach the wall to your left. Coordinates marked on your display. That's exterior wall, Mitchell said. We're 3 levels up. Trust me. Connor planted charges where Kessa indicated. Everyone back. The wall exploded outward. Cold air rushed in. Beyond the breach was a 50-meter drop to the river, and rising from that river, running lights blazing, was the Endeavor. The medical frigate had descended into atmosphere, violating every safety protocol. Its cargo bay doors yawned open. Jump! Kessa commanded. I have you. Connor jumped first. Freefall lasted 2 heartbeats before the Endeavor's tractor beam caught him, slowing his descent. He landed in the cargo bay, rolled, came up ready. The rest followed. Human soldiers and Zentari warriors falling through dawn light into safety. Plasma fire from the fortress scorched the Endeavor's shields. Kane's voice boomed over comms. All personnel secure. Get us out of here! The frigate climbed, engines screaming. Fighters launched from the fortress. The Endeavor's point defense systems engaged. Fire painted the sky. Then they broke atmosphere. Jump drives engaged. The stars stretched. In the cargo bay, Connor lay on the deck, breathing hard. Around him, humans and Zentari slowly stood, checking each other for injuries. The Zentari commander approached Connor. It extended one massive hand. Connor took it. Days later, the Endeavor docked at Coalition Station Meridian. News crews swarmed. Politicians demanded explanations, but Connor ignored them all. He found Kessa in the medical wing. She was standing now, her wounds healing with alien efficiency. The 9 warriors were with her, speaking in rapid Zentari. They stopped when Connor entered. Kessa's eyes brightened. They want thank you, she said. All of them. The commander stepped forward. In halting English it said, You showed us. Compassion is not weakness of humans, is strength. Kessa taught us that, Connor replied. No, Kessa said softly. Child with flower taught me. You taught my warriors. We teach more. Change spreads. Through the viewport, Connor saw something that made his heart stop. More ships approaching. Not human, not attacking. Zentari vessels, broadcasting surrender codes. What? Connor started. Word spreads fast, Kessa said. Story of warriors who chose honor, of humans who risked everything to save enemies, of commander who shelters defectors. She smiled, that alien expression now familiar. My warriors are not alone anymore. 16 Zentari ships joined Meridian Station that day, 43 warriors seeking asylum. Each one had heard the story. Each one chose compassion. The war wasn't over, but something had changed. Connor stood with Kessa, watching more ships arrive, human and Zentari side by side. You were stronger than any of us, he said. But more than that, you were braver. Kessa placed one hand on his shoulder. We are stronger together, human and Zentari. This is future we build. Brennan's daughter appeared in the doorway, the child who'd survived the tunnels. She held something in her small hands, a flower grown in the station's hydroponics bay. She walked to Kessa and offered it silently. Kessa knelt, all 4 arms trembling. She accepted the flower with infinite gentleness, and for the first time since Connor had met her, the warrior who'd betrayed her species for conscience, who'd fought armies for children, who'd shown humanity the true meaning of strength, wept. They were